Did you remember your lost time slip?
The morning of 9/11. Normal morning. I remember it's very bright, very sunny. News, didn't know what was going on. But I remember walking out the front door on my way to work, going to the back of my car and opening the boot to put my bag in the back, and just being aware of how quiet. Again, there was no sound, there was no birds, no wind, just very warm. And I remember getting into my car and I remember driving to work, and still, although the traffic was around me, it was very still, very, very still, very, very strange. And then when I got into work, there was obviously people rushing around. Have you heard? Have you heard? And that's when I went into the incident room and we had the telly on and I was watching it, that it sort of dawned on me that what I was experiencing was linking in with that time. And it's almost like that ripple had come so far across the globe that I felt it. And I'm sure other people, other sensitive people would have felt that. And that in itself is like a time slip. Although it's happening at the same time, you're feeling the event. Does that make sense?
My feeling on that, and I know it's not everybody's take, but my take on this is that consciousness is universal. You know, yes. Your consciousness, my consciousness, the rocks, the trees, the pyramids, the stars. But that consciousness sits outside of time. Yeah. So it can look backwards, forwards, over its shoulder, sideways at other levels. And what is known in one place can be known in another. It's not to say that it is, but it can be known if you know how to open the channel.
Yes.
You know, open the door, or as Kurt would say, you know, open me a channel to Starfleet, you know. Yeah. As long as you know how to open that comlink, it's all there to be found, like morphic resonance, you know, it's another instance, isn't it, where the scientist in a lab in China, he gets the, you know, the solution to a problem, a cure for a disease, and the guy in California gets it the same day. You know, that's not a coincidence. It's just that somebody's opened the door.
Yeah.
And then somebody else has been able to look through it.
Yeah. As you say that feels very normal. And I know that's right because it feels right to me. And that's what I think as well. And I believe.
Where do you think, I mean, I know what I think, but what do you think, or how do you think past lives figure in that? Do you see them as something sequential, that they happened in the past, or are they all happening now, or are they happening in the future? Are they something else entirely? What is your spin on reincarnation and past life?
My experiences and my understanding, I've always looked at things very sort of linear. So we have a past, we're now, then we're in the future. But I do know that if you go back to the past, you can change your future, if you like. But these all run parallel, and it's almost like, how can I explain it? We have a point here and we could get to a point here, but if we choose a different route, we can get to a point here. So it almost branches off and then parallels. And I know that from experience as well, that things that happen to us now, the way that we feel about events, the way that certain situations affect us, are a culmination of experience that we've had to reach the point where we are now. So, for example, you have a fear of water. If we were to take you back into past life, then something very dramatic could have happened to you regarding water, and you've pulled that event or that feeling through to your next incarnation, where that event has carried its negative vibration to that point. And I know that if we were to take you back to that point, we could look at that, experience it, know it for its truth, and when you come back to your point now, you wouldn't have that fear. And this, you'll love this, because I've just been reminded of something. In my early days of development circle, I remember being with a particular teacher, and I got taken to through a meditation, and I went to an Indian reservation, and I was in the teepee. And I remember being I had an Indian in front of me, and he was blowing powders on me. There was smoke, there was heat, there was incense, chanting. This lady, with her inexperience, brought me out of that too soon. And I remember being pulled out of the side of the teepee, and things hadn't finished. Whatever they were doing hadn't finished, and she brought me out, and I felt physically unwell for 2 weeks, disorientated, headaches, forgetfulness, which unfortunately has stayed with me. But I think it's probably my age as well. But all these things were happening, and I went to see a healer, and no word of a lie, she put me on her couch and she put me back to the point where I came out of the teepee. And she said, I know what's happened. They haven't finished their ceremony. So she put me back, and they were able to finish what they had started, and I came out naturally. Now, isn't that phenomenal? And isn't that interesting that could have happened, and she could have took me back to that point. That healer took me back to that point. Right. That event happening, and now that's in a meditation. But it still says, it still shows, it's an example of, you can be taken back to a point, and then things can be carried out to complete that whatever, or you can approach it in a different way to come back to the point you are now and be okay. Does that make sense?
What you're describing is soul loss. Okay, a Native American healer would be an extremely potent force, and even if they don't cast a circle the same way as, say, a Western magician or witch might, they would generate it anyway through the strength of their own energy field.
Yes, yeah.
Especially once they got involved in some kind of ceremony, that field would extend and become very powerful to protect them from anything else out there. But it would also be shutting you in. Yeah. You're inside their energy field, and then some inexperienced hypnotist comes along and tries to yank your consciousness out of that. It wouldn't really be possible, because too much of you is invested in that alternate reality or past reality, and you got left behind. Straight up soul loss. The only way to fix that is to go back to that place, retrieve that lost part of you, and then let the whole thing be released as it was intended to be. And then when you come back, of course, the missing pieces of your jigsaw are put together again, aren't they?
Yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's like when you look at the bigger picture of why we're here and what we're here to learn, I know that we're here to learn lessons. We're here to experience every single emotion possible, happiness, rage, guilt. We have to experience everything to understand and appreciate everything, to get to that point of enlightenment. And I know that if you can go to a past event and then make a decision and go, say, down a different path, that you can end up at the same point, but you can project yourself to that point from here now. So I could take somebody, put them on the couch and take them forward because of a particular path that they're following is going to take them to that point. So I'm able to do that at this moment in time. But if they were to then change their mind about something or change direction, then I could take them to a different point. So not everything in the future, when we go to that future point, is reality. It can be changed.
Potential.
Potentially, yes. Yeah, definitely.
So from our point of view, it would be a projection, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
A forecast.
Yeah.
But it might not be. It might be something much more solid.
Exactly.
Which kind of brings us to the subject of time travel again. Of course, I don't know what your spin is on UFOs, but a lot of people believe that what is popularly perceived as aliens or flying saucers are actually travelers from the future coming back here. Their take on this is that if you say you went back to the year 2000, it's not very far, that would be the same 2000 that you and I remember. But then it would become a new one. Because the minute you arrive, you're something that shouldn't be there. All right, you are the pebble in the pond, aren't you? You know, ponds are not supposed to have pebbles in them. They're just supposed to be a pond. So you create a new timeline between 2000 and 2020, and that's your parallel. Yeah. And if you went back a second time, the same thing would happen again, and instead of having two parallels, you'd have three. Yeah. Like railway tracks running side by side, and there's no telling what kind of differences even common man or woman might be able to make. Yep. They might invest in shares, or they might back a certain politician.
My voice has changed.
You sound younger.
Yeah, I've got spirit
female,
coming
isn't
in.
it? It's a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's somebody definitely coming in, and I think if we carry on, they'll be speaking to you, and I won't be. That's
okay. Yeah, there's nothing, absolutely nothing wrong with that. It certainly wouldn't be the first time. Very likely won't be the last. Would I be right in saying that this is a female and has an accent that's not English?
Yes.
That's the only thing I got from that. I thought the voice sounded like a younger, but it also sounded like an accent. What I wanted to ask you about, or her, whichever is applicable at this point, you know, you or your guest, is your otherworldly circle. Okay. This was the best part of our little dry run yesterday. You sat in a circle that connected with another circle that was, shall we say, elsewhere.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, Mel.
It's interesting because I've always known that we are not alone. I know that there's consciousness out there, and I know whatever form that is, it's there. I know we're not the only ones. And this particular circle that I ran when I was in Norwich, we'd been sitting for quite a few so probably about 2 or 3 years, and this particular evening we sat and this circle joined ours, and it was above us, and I know that it was extraterrestrial purely because of the vibration and what I saw. And we were, over the course of a couple of weeks, we would take places, we would change places with each other. So so many of our circle would go up to sit in their circle, and so many would come down and sit with, just sitting there and just being in their energy and expanding, just expanding so much to encompass what we were, what we are. And when they joined us, I mean, we were very much aware of the people that had changed positions, how different that their frame was. They were sort of slender. The skin wasn't skin, it was almost like it was light and it was shining out. And again, you had this very, very light blue that
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
Come out, yeah. It was just phenomenal, and it, nobody said anything. It was more a knowing. You communicating through a knowing and understanding that this is okay, we're learning, you're learning. And it was just amazing, absolutely amazing. And it's not the first time I've come across people that connect with extraterrestrials, or I've channeled them myself, and that's just an amazing experience. And to have that privilege, I think, is just wonderful. I really, really do. It's fascinating.
Were they like us? I mean, did they have a head, 2 arms and 2 legs, or were they different in some way other than, you know, more etheric?
The ones that we connected to, those particular evenings, they were very human shaped, although smaller. But I was very much aware of a physical body, but it was like light, like translucent, but it was in the form of a human body. Fascinating.
Did they give you any impression of being male and female? Any names, or of course any idea of where they might be from?
If memory serves me right, it was almost like they had the vibration of both male and female. But I remember being made aware of how distant they were to us. They were beyond galaxies that we don't even know exist, and they were able to connect to us. And I also got the sense that that some of them were actually here already.
Yeah, I felt just literally as you said it, I felt exactly the same thing.
And they were being taught how to come. This was part of their teachings, to come and join others on this planet. They were here to learn, to help, but not to hinder, to guide.
You've turned purple.
Have
and
I?
Yeah, you've just got this kind of purple hue while you're talking about this, which I will take to mean that you have somebody of that nature with you. Would you say that these visitors, apparently they dislike being called aliens, so we'll call them visitors, are they here in their own right, as in walking around as themselves, or have they kind of overshadowed existing human bodies, or even brought their own? What form are they in? For those who are listening to this on a radio broadcast, Mel seems to be going into trance, and I get the distinct feeling that the people we were just talking about, the otherworldly circle, an extraterrestrial circle to be specific, one of those is now poised to speak through her.